So let's move on to what is the subjunctive. So what are the differences between subjunctive and indicative? Well, there are lots and lots of these differences, but the easy breakdown is subjunctive we use for doubt, denial, disbelief. We use it for emotions. We use it for impersonal statements. We use it for requests and recommendations. And we use it for wishes, desires, and ojalá. When do we use the indicative? We use the indicative when we're talking about a fact, when we're talking about something where there's no doubt, talking about the truth, we're talking about a belief. These are all situations where we would use the indicative. So right now we're talking about noun clauses, but before we can talk about noun clauses, we should really talk about what a clause is. A clause is a part of a sentence that includes a subject and a verb. So what does that mean? Let's take an example. I am glad is a sentence with a single clause. A sentence with two clauses would be, I am glad that you are happy. There are two clauses in the sentence. Remember I said a clause includes a subject and a verb. And by verb I mean a conjugated verb, not a verb in the infinitive. So I am glad in Spanish would be estoy contento. There's one verb and one subject. In this case, there are two verbs and two subjects. So what we're going to do is we're going to have two different clauses. One will be a noun clause. So let's see here. Estoy contento que estés feliz. My first clause is I am glad, and my second clause is that you are happy. The noun clause here is that you are happy. So what is a noun clause? A noun clause is a clause that is dependent on a main clause. It cannot stand alone. I can't just say that you are happy. That you are happy doesn't mean anything in English or Spanish. It's important that we have a subordinate clause or a main clause that it depends on. So in this case, in this example here, my main clause is I'm glad, and my noun clause is that you are happy. So that's what a noun clause is. So let's look at some different ways that we can remember noun clauses in Spanish. Noun clauses in Spanish fall under a couple of different categories. First we have W, so the acronym that I've always used is WEIRDO. W is for wishes, desires, and imperatives. E is for emotion. I is for impersonal statements or observations. Observations. I'll come back to these in just a couple seconds and give you some examples so you understand better. R is for recommendations and requests. D is for doubt, denial, and disbelief. And O is for ojalá. Ojalá in Spanish directly translates to God willing, but in modern day, it mostly means hopefully. With this, technically there is no particular subject. It is an impersonal statement, but it's categorized differently just because it's kind of a unique word. It comes from the Arabic word Allah, and it was assimilated into Spanish language when there was a large Arab presence in southern Spain. Okay, so what do these all mean? What can we get out of these? So if we go back to the blog, so I'm just going to minimize here and go back here to my blog. The next link here says, when do we use the subjunctive? And if I click on that, I'm going to open a PDF that's got my chart, and it's got all of the different, the weirdo in here. So some examples of wishes, desires, and imperatives. Querer que, desear que, necesitar que, esperar que, mandar que, insistir que, etc. Those are pretty explanatory. Emotion is anytime we're talking about emotions. To be happy about something, to be scared or angry about something, to be upset about something are all emotional main clauses that would be followed by a subordinate clause. Impersonal observations. This is the one that people find tricky. Impersonal observations is when we don't have a subject, a particular subject. It's a general statement. It's good, it's important, it's necessary, it's possible, it's wonderful. Recommendations and requests, recommend, suggest, to need, where that's in desires, that can also fall into recommendations or requests. Doubt, denial, and disbelief. This one's an easy one to remember. So to doubt is dudar, to believe, to not believe is no creer. If creer is in a question form, then it would be followed by a subjunctive, and negar is a word that means to deny. And then finally, ojalá. On here we also see when do we not use the subjunctive. So we don't use the subjunctive to express facts, beliefs, truths, certainties, or the obvious. So clearly, if I say I believe or I think, we can't follow that with the subjunctive. There's no doubt, has to be followed by the indicative. It's obvious, it's certain, it's truth, it's a fact, has to be followed by the indicative. And I know. I know in Spanish means it's definitely a fact. We also don't use the subjunctive when we're discussing people or things that we know exist for a fact. But that's something we'll get into a little bit later. So we've completed our notes here, and in class today we took a couple minutes to go do a pre-quiz on the subjunctive and noun clauses. I know a lot of people struggled with this. Hopefully this quick overview helped you. And tomorrow when we're in class, you'll be a little bit more prepared to finish that pre-quiz, and we can continue to discuss subjunctive and noun clauses. Come to class with questions, and be sure to either print or save these notes that you've taken so you can show me that you watched the video. Hasta mañana.